Bad Dates Hell Dates, A Dating Problem Guide. Chapter 1. Bad Dates Hell Dates. Bad dates / worst dates / hell dates. I started realizing dating was a drag when I would meet a girl somewhere, talk to her, then asked her for a date, but later when we met for the date, I could tell in about a minute that it was going nowhere. That's kind of how I developed my theory: if it ain't really strong upfront like I felt before, I'm just not gonna bother. It's kinda risky if you're looking for love, because you're supposed to bring people into your realm of possibilities, not exclude them. But I just got tired of bad dates that you both knew weren't going anywhere. You pretty well know in a few seconds if you're really attracted to someone or not. I'm not like a 35-year-old woman who's kinda desperate, willing to date dull-looking guys that might make good fathers. It's more primal with me. Shakespeare said the course of love never did run smooth. It's true. It's hard for people to connect, either superficially or intimately. It's just a big mess of insecurity, but if you want love you have to play. I say play only with people you think there's a realistic chance with. Don't bother with other people. It's kinda like if you really like someone, try a date out. If it's just their money or status, you'll pay in the long run for going out with a dud. Be aware of personal safety. Carry a can of pepper spray or another weapon. Carry a cell phone with GPS in it. Tell someone you're going on a date with a stranger and ask them to call you at a certain time. If they can't reach you, they should call the cops. Watch the guy's behavior. How he is with other people and animals is how he'll be with you when the charm fades. If it's not working, don't make the guy angry. Just look for a quick, face-saving way out. You can find out if a guy is married in several ways. Look for an imprint on his skin where his wedding ring would be on the left ring finger. Tell him you want to see his pet, books, house, etc. Search his wallet and car for signs. Look at his cell phone database. Ask him to bring some of his friends to meet your friends. Invite him to spend the night or a weekend together. Run his name through public records looking for a marriage license. If somebody tells you stories then later tells you stories that contradict the earlier stories, he's a liar. If you're going out with a guy and you notice money missing, extra charges on your credit card, etc., make him your first suspect. He could be stealing your identity. If you have an ex-husband or boyfriend that's obsessed with you, be firm about telling him it's over. Something broke. It can't be fixed. Start collecting evidence for a possible stalking charge. The more slick a guy is, generally the more insincere. If a guy is talking to you while scanning the room looking at other girls, that's a bad date. If a guy wants sex too fast or starts talking about your future together too soon, stop him in no uncertain terms. Tell him I don't know you well enough. The more compliments a guy gives, the more insincere he is. If a date is moderately bad, just tell the guy it's not working, let's call it a day. If it's really bad, just leave, out the back door if necessary to avoid his anger. Another possibility is to start acting bad and offensive yourself. If your date has bad body odor or bad breath, there's no excuse on a date. If you're on a date with someone you don't know very well, it's not a good sign if they get drunk. Bad date websites. 11points.com/personal/11_worst_dates_of_my_life. Answers.yahoo.com, worst date ever. badonlinedates.com. bet.com/show/hell-date.html, hell date show. board.com/datester.ies. divinecaroline.com/relationships/dating/horrors. examiner.com/single-women-horrible-no-good-bad-relationship-relationship-issues/article-very-bad marieclaire.com/sex-love/relationship-issue/article/bad-date-stories. myveryworstdate.com. onlinedatesfromhell.com. onlinedatingdiaries.blogspot.com. Refinery29.com/New York C-dating-horror-stories. StarMyDate.com/worst, funny, and horrible date stories. ThedaTE-from-hell.com. Worst-date.com. Chapter 2. Courtship is hard. Why courtship is hard. 1. Use common sense. You have to put yourself out there. Sometime you click, sometimes you don't. If you go looking for love at the so-called happening places, chances are you won't find it. If you live your life and try to do something positive, chances are you will. Ex-bartender. I get some of my insights on the pulse of the society by watching a few dating-type reality and game shows on TV, plus seeing what they're feeding the populace with through so-called romantic comedies. The general formula from the girl's point of view is, hey, look at me, I'm fabulous, worth it, I deserve the best, so I get to pick the guy I want first by flirting with him. Then when he bites, I probe him more, and if he passes, he gets to sleep with me. This is the game, these are the rules. The girl is like the queen on her throne, while the guy is supposed to be there like a dog with his tongue hanging out, trying to please her, because she ultimately decides whether there will be a second date, more contact, or not. The average guy has to please her. It's generally not an equitable relationship thing. Rarely do guys say screw you, you arrogant bitch. They're hangin' until the end, still hoping for a chance at sex. Most guys really are meat and potatoes, while most girls are either or both off in dreamland and / or think they're fabulous princesses who deserve both Prince Charming and moneybags in one package. But the problem is that in the real world, you got both average people living by a delusion that they're more special and fascinating than they actually are, plus you got the aging factor that affects all women as their bankability to men goes down year by year after 25. But then you got guys trying to be real and meeting up with girls with expectations that go way over their heads. Just watch the dating shows. Virtually every girl thinks she's gonna get some Prince Charming moneybags, but there aren't enough Prince Charming moneybags for all the girls who want them. What's the message in this? It is that I believe that the indoctrinating forces of our pop culture, capitalistic, competitive world has created a bunch of people with delusions about life and what's real, so they're going around trying to act like some character or image they saw on TV somewhere while looking for some character or image they saw in a movie somewhere, when the truth is that the real world in relationships with real people is considerably more basic than that. There are 2 basic variables of attraction. Instant spark based on the facial look, the body, and the vibe. The basic honest, humble goodness of someone versus arrogance, callousness, trendiness, competitiveness, etc. Are they genuinely empathetic and kind versus being so self-centered that they don't realize it because they're so into themselves that they can't go outside of it to see life from other people's perspectives? Obviously there are very few people who fit into either extreme all the time. Most people are gray, they live in cycles of niceness, callousness, and mundanity, but I feel we're all looking for the heart, someone truly nice, caring and gentle. But the problem with this is, who are we? Look at yourself in the mirror. What vibe do you give off to other people? Who are you really, not the way you see yourself but the way others see you? You might think you're cool and great, but often your perception of yourself is not as flattering as the way others see you. Instead of looking for love, look for yourself, the real you. Try to be kind, or at least unpretentious. Find your core of productive, positive activities that inspire you about your life and do them in a quiet, unassuming way, and you should find true love. If you put on an act in any way at all, you might get hitched, but it probably won't be true love. We live on stereotypes. We see Joe Lunchbucket working a construction job and assume he's dumb, or we see some girl with big boobs and a slim waist and think she's waltzing through life, when the truth is that pretty, young girls are some of the most insecure people around, because they know they've never really done anything of substance with their lives, even though they can act all that go girl up front. Try to get off the stereotype of whatever images you're living by to be who you really are as much as you can be, whilst trying to treat people real so they'll be real with you without the pretenses. This is why I think that courtship is harder than ever. It's because we're living in a world that has indoctrinated us to follow a bunch of illusions, and most of us do so. We're all a bunch of phony, status-conscious people thinking we're all that as gleaned from some frivolous pop culture image, and go around looking for some Prince Charming moneybags or a babe we saw on TV somewhere, when we should just be real and accept people that come along as who they genuinely are, without either consciously or subconsciously putting them up to some standard of success, status, and coolness we saw out there in the manufactured capitalist world we're a part of. But it doesn't mean we have to surrender our souls to it. People go for people who desire them. The problem is that the pop culture world has brainwashed girls to want some moneybags Prince Charming pop star type and think they deserve him if he, in fact, exists, while guys want some perfect stunning beauty with big tits and think they deserve her even if they're just average guys getting by with nothing substantial to offer in terms of true manly qualities, away from cultural brainwash. In today's world, most people fake or half love somebody and pretend for the rest, which is why courtship is harder than ever, because it's so hard to find someone sincere and real with enough selfless love to want to be nice to you all the time. The pop culture element has got virtually all of us striving to match up to some corporate ideal of cool as presented by the media, so we try so hard to present this image to the world that we have jaded, uppity attitudes about being the straight, humble, unpretentious people we should be if we want to attract somebody real. And since we're so obsessed with being cool, we're looking for somebody who matches our idea of cool, namely, some manufactured pop star type, so we don't give the real people just being themselves a chance because they look too corny for this media standard of coolness we've brainwashed ourselves with. People generally think there's some magical suave quality to attracting a charming mate, or that Mr. or Ms. Right is suddenly gonna pop out of nowhere like a fairy tale come true. But you should get real, be yourself, and look for somebody like you. A lot of people play a gambling game of hanging with a lukewarm love for a while, possibly marrying him, but always looking for the Prince Charming to come across the horizon, whereupon she will drop the average guy like a hot potato. Some people try to develop a materialistic image about themselves based on pop culture as to what constitutes coolness, and go overboard buying a nice sports car, trendy clothes, etc. But they don't realize true love is two people naturally attracted to each other being themselves because they really like each other, not just for the image. It's not about a trendy look you manufacture about yourself in order to attract someone. It's about being a cool, enlightened person within yourself. By developing your soul to a worthy level, then you should be able to attract someone by the vibe/natural inspired energy you give off. Don't send mixed signals. Express your hate for the opposite sex. Express your hate for past lovers. Put yourself down. Criticize him. Complain. Be late. Make up excuses. Blame everybody for your problems but you. Why courtship is hard too. Look for somebody comfortable in their own skin rather than for somebody with that superficial external show in the form of car, clothes, even career, because lots of so-called successful people with a good career have horrible, boring personalities. In the olden days, about 40 or more years ago, the world was smaller, safer, and more personable. Family and friends regularly paired each other off. You had a regular social circle like school, the church, the local pub, the barnyard dance, the annual parade, etc., where you saw the same people over and over again, so you were all familiar with each other. If you saw someone you liked, you could ask around about him or her, then put the word out that you were interested. These days, most of us live in a transient community that's always moving with action. People come and go all the time. In the past, most people didn't travel much, stayed around their hometown, hence they had social connections with a lot of local people. Unlike today, where the world is bigger and more complex, most so-called modern people are in the game of career and success, so they're running around rushing all the time, often moving somewhere away from their hometown. The net result is big impersonal cities where people are conditioned to keep their distance from one another and give each other space to the extent that it's very hard to even meet someone, much less start a romance. You have to get out there and circulate, and then have the guts to initiate when you see someone you like, barring staying in your hometown and hooking up with someone you knew way back when in grade school. Add this to the fact that 50% of the population is divorced, which means that love never worked in the first place, so we now have a looser morality about the permanence of marriage, plus the fact that there are a lot of insecure, scared, heartbroken and damaged people walking around who have been hurt in divorce, which adds an element of negative psychic energy into the prospective mating game. Then there's the element of the modern lifestyle, which has gotten away from the neighborhood community thing to a highly technical world where we outfit our houses with all kinds of gadgets to entertain ourselves, go through the drive-thru to get our food, money from the bank, dry cleaning, etc. and order things from the internet, such that it lessens the chances for casual social encounters. In the media, once we had traditional values coming at us all the time with Donna Reed, Leave It to Beaver, Happy Days, and the Waltons, all geared for a traditional family life in a happy close-knit community, but the media nowadays is often geared for singles vamping it up or looking for love in all the wrong places, judging from the TV shows on the air, which shall remain nameless. A lot of talk shows are about either cheating or singles vamping it up, having all kinds of sex. With the horrific crimes that have occurred in the United States and other countries, many girls don't know you're a nice guy, so they're wary of all strangers and give them the cold shoulder when they try to socialize, and this attitude further alienates men from women when they're given the cold shoulder, so many times they get tired of the game and stop initiating contacts with the opposite gender. There is a subtle battle of the sexes going on out there, with women still discriminated against in all sectors while trying to get equal rights. Plus we live in a narcissistic society where the corporate media machine blasts commercials at us all the time, wanting us to spend money and buy things for ourselves because, as they say, we're worth it. A lot of people live for themselves and can't be bothered with relationships because, from a cost-benefit analysis standpoint, a relationship brings more hassles than the occasional sex and companionship, unless it's a casual affair with no strings attached, which a lot of guys want, while girls generally want the full loving commitment. Feminism and women's lib are as strong as ever, and then there's the career woman demographic, which makes a lot of them self-centered, independent and uppity, which scares a lot of men off. Men don't want these successful yuppie-type women too full of themselves because they're too complicated. They don't feel any sincere warmth coming from their auras, and they're also a threat to their egos. A lot of men are like this too, married to their jobs. Often they get married, live their workaholic lives for a few years, then get a divorce. We also have a subclass of men not particularly interested in a career or a family. They don't really like to work, they want to live an easygoing life with no strings attached. They will do a job for a while, then quit to take life easy for a while and pursue other hobbies, then repeat the cycle all over again in transient jobs. 40 years ago, if you weren't a guy working a steady job married with a couple of kids, you were considered an oddball and or a loser. You almost couldn't do it without being ostracized by family, friends, and society in general. Back then it was your moral duty to marry young, be fruitful, and multiply to bring children into the fold of your particular religion and family. In the same way, there's a subclass of women not too ambitious in the real world, so they're either gold diggers or just average girls looking to snag a husband so they can sit home while he earns the bread. They're not necessarily the traditional loving type who want to raise children as a good mother. They're inherently lazy, self-centered types who want to paint their nails, smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, and watch soap operas while the man is off slaving away to pay for it all, commonly known as trailer trash divas, and there are a lot of them around, brainwashed into living out of the pages of a frivolous women's magazine. The structure of society has changed drastically from a basic two-parent family structure in the 1950s to today, where a large portion of the population are singles, divorced, single parents, and there are even quite a lot of widows out there who have outlived their husbands because they took better care of themselves. In fact, from a marketing point of view, the singles demographic is so huge that much of our consumer goods are geared to that demographic alone, whereas in the past it was all about families. Society is now geared for casual sex after the sexual revolution of the 60s, the birth control pill, and the attitude being encouraged throughout the media in the likes of frivolous magazines and music videos. We have a lot of STDs and a mixture of gender roles. Whereas 40 years ago or so, men were real men, the dominant upstanding breadwinners, while women were nice people who wanted to raise families and gloss over everything. But today we have women acting like men and vice versa. Then we have a large middle ground majority who are confused as to how to act appropriate to their opposite gender, especially when it comes to dating and finding a mate. So what's the solution to all this? It's to not beat around the bush. If you truly want to meet someone and fall in love, first you have to bring yourself up to a worthy vibe to give off the impression that you love life, you're positive about trying to improve yourself all the time, you're successful enough to afford some decent clothes, a functional car and a half-decent house or apartment. Then you have to get out there in public and do things, and when you see someone you like, men and women alike, you can't be passive, you have to act. The girl has to get in his face, flirt, and smile. The guy has to look reasonably good and attractive, smile and break the ice somehow with initial small talk, then escalate it up to a date or a phone number if she gives you positive signals. Eye contact has a lot to do with it. If you look at somebody and they keep looking back, it could be the start of something. That's how relationships start, with eye contact a little longer than the cursory glances we give to each other out in public. Not just guys must look, but girls have to look back unflinchingly to let the guy know they're waiting for you to make a move to see what you're all about. In essence, you can't sit on the fence. If you see someone you like, present yourself as a straight-up normal person doing what normal people do, expressing your attraction to somebody who looks good to you. A lot of people mess up after the initial encounter because they come on way too strong in the personal department, mostly girls asking too many questions of the guy in an attempt to size him up as mate material, and the guy thinking he's supposed to act like all those guys acting phony about their love lives on TV dating shows and other shows in general, where they're almost always bragging about their supposedly cool sex lives. So he goes way over the top with talk about sex and making cheap, aggressive sexual moves way before it's appropriate, or just bragging in general. Girls see through this easily and they're not impressed. They'd rather have a real guy with not much to say because he lives an uneventful life than some asshole claiming he climbed the great phallic mountain of manhood. Romance and sex are relatively easy. You go along with the girl being a nice guy, catering to her in a pleasant way. Then when she feels comfortable with you, she gives you the come on signals to let you in little by little. Don't advertise like a peacock showing its feathers to impress the opposite sex. Girls are more impressed with powerful, self-assured guys being themselves comfortably without pretense. Advertise and sell yourself to as many venues as possible, meaning don't be shy about telling people you're single and looking around for a lover. They will help you by inviting you to parties and social functions and possibly networking you into meeting some of their friends informally, not necessarily a blind date, but everyone going to the beach together or the museum or restaurant, etc. If you don't like singles bars and the pressure of going out Friday and Saturday nights, don't do it. Go out and do things you enjoy doing anyway, and go out on the weeknights instead. You have to feel comfortable about what you do in your efforts to hook up. There's usually a bit of tension if going out alone looking for love, but you can disguise it by doing hobby-like things such as join a gym, choir, church, etc., or go out with either a few same-sex friends or a few opposite-sex friends who aren't lover material for you. Then once you get to where you're going, you can walk around on your own and check the action out. The important thing is to get out there somewhere and circulate around, both for your own confidence as a person and to have some fun somewhere where someone can see you and think you're alright, or vice versa. You might see someone and make a move. You can meet someone anywhere and everywhere. If you go to the supermarket to shop rather than just go through drive-thrus, you might meet someone there. It could happen anywhere, but it won't happen while you're sitting at home watching TV. Be a neighborly neighborhood person. Get around such that people see you, get to know you, make small talk, then you might network into other things with them, like meeting their friends. Do the same at your workplace. Think positive. Know thyself. Be confident about who you are and what you want. Be realistic. If you're Bologna, don't expect turkey roll. You will get Bologna too. Keep at it. Persistence pays off. Adjust to the changing world out there and go with the flow. Remember that underneath it all, a lot of people still yearn for simpler, Uncomplicated peaceful lives like it was in the olden days, so don't try to be too trendy, just be yourself. Love starts with you. Love yourself and spread this joy around. Don't look for love from anyone else. Be love and they will come to you looking for it. Hopefully, you will get some from them. Mutual respect is everything. And finally, don't believe all that crap you see on TV. A lot of it is a bunch of bull, both the people claiming to be really cool and having very cool happening sex lives and all that psychobabble geared to make you feel deficient if you don't fit into a certain pigeonhole of what they define as cool, trendy, and normal. Why courtship is hard. 3. In the old days, when someone became of age, if they were worthy, the grapevine in the community was matchmaking, but nowadays, because we don't really live in these personable communities, this is all but gone except for the few ethnic and religious groups who stick together. This is a big paradigm shift. Whereas before, almost everybody married someone from the same community and social circles, nowadays it's not that common anymore. The double standard existed then and exists now. Boys can go out and mess around with trailer trash girls, but they'll look for a good girl to marry who they can take home to show mother. Any girl who messes around is considered a hoe, hussy, or a slut. Whereas in the past, a young man or woman had the family around to censor new relationships and offer strong advice as to who was a good, honorable person as a potential mate and who wasn't. This custom is not all that common these days. The concept of freedom is good to a certain extent, but I personally think it's bad in a way too, because quite often, people who pick their own mates without input from family and friends end up making bad choices. There should be a middle ground in courtship. Go out dating and checking new people out, but run them past trusted friends and family for their opinions as to how prospective they are as a mate. The old days had the quiet double standard, the guy as the aggressor getting his rocks off with trailer trash girls while looking for a good girl to marry who was supposed to act all proper and good, therefore be a dud in the bed, and because they never talked about sex, only did it quietly under the cover of the darkness, the guy would get married to satisfy his social need for a good wife and continue to go out with hussies on the side. Because courtship is the process to help you prepare to make the most important decision of your life, to find a mate, it should be made with some cold, hard logic as opposed to the infatuation of the love is blind phenomena. People are no more enlightened about love than they ever were. They fall into a whirlwind passionate tryst with someone and get married before seeing the cold hard reality of what this other person is like, which is why many marriages either fail or go on in mundane perpetuity. In the courtship game, the roles go back to primitive times. The man is evaluated on his ability as a hunter, which equates to social status and wealth. The girl is evaluated on her beauty, therefore sexual gratification, as well as her youth and health, which equate to her ability to bear healthy children and raise them. The woman wants a provider. The man wants a sex object and mother for his children. Everybody is looking for the best mate they can get. Pretty, young, healthy women are the prize to men, so this is what they're looking to attract by being as successful and rich as possible, and this is what women are aspiring to be in order to attract the wealthiest, upper-class guy she can get. These are the caricatures and are not laid in stone. There are girls not so pretty and young who attract men by being nice people, and men not so wealthy who attract women by their charms or personalities, but overall this is the game. Women use beauty and men use wealth and status to attract each other. Women desperately want a wealthy man of status, while men could care less about a woman's status. He just cares about her look and vibe. Even though women are influenced by guys' looks, it comes down to their status/wealth as well as their looks. In all cases, the number one factor for straight attraction is always the physical look of the other person. I can't tell you which way to go. You have to make your own decisions. Plenty of girls and guys are primarily attracted to someone but marry someone else for the money, status, or some other foolish reason. In the end, you want happiness. Happiness comes from the heart, not from the head. Women have a universal rule about tall men. They prefer tall men to short any day and generally want someone 4 inches taller than them. It goes back to a primal, social stature thing. The taller the man, the stronger and the better hunter he is. Women like lean, muscular men to the extent that he's a sleek, well-built hunter as opposed to the big-muscled guy who's slow and plodding, or the weakling and the fat guy who don't even rate as far as physical appeal goes. Men and women prefer people with symmetrical faces and bodies. It seems that people who are symmetrical this way have healthier bodies, and we pick up on it in an unconscious way. When women age, regardless of status in the world by virtue of position, their value in the courting department goes way down because they aren't stunningly beautiful anymore, nor are they fertile. Men's value goes down in the looks department, but it's not as extreme as with women, and in the status department it usually goes up, so men get all the breaks when it comes to courtship as they age. Both genders report that they're attracted to people with healthy, curvaceous bodies, not too skinny or too fat. Even though they say it's due to aesthetic appreciation, medical biology bears out that these people have the healthiest immune systems. Men are expected to compete for the women they want, sometimes fighting it out to the death in the animal kingdom. While the low-status females have to take what they can get, the high-status ones, the youngest and prettiest, actually choose their suitor from the available pool by giving flirting signals to the guy they want, who then responds to them. Courtship in humans is generally associated with courage on the part of the male who makes a bold move and risks rejection by asking a girl out, but the truth is that in most cases, the girl has already flirted with the guy and let him know she was open to going out with him, or somebody told somebody else she liked Joe, whereupon Joe was told that Becky was interested in him. Why courtship is hard for. Karl Grammer, an Austrian ethologist, conducted courtship studies in the 1980s, observing men and women interact in a bar, and came up with the general pattern for introductions, which goes something like this. The guy sits around like a log. The girl smiles and flirts. The guy goes over and introduces himself. The girl checks him out more closely, and if his status is not high enough or she doesn't like him, she brushes him off right there because it's easy. Neither side has invested much, and her flirting is not so specific that it can be taken literally. If they like each other, they talk, look at each other, get physically closer, mirror each other's actions, and use open body language with each other, such as touching, facing each other, swaying their hips into each other, dancing together closely, etc. At this stage, the man may be thinking sex or love, while the girl is probably thinking love, a provider for her future kids, so she has to feel the guy out to establish his maturity or domestication level and tame him down somewhat to fit her image of a family man. At any point in this ritual, the guy can leave, but if he is smitten by her and she uses her cunning ways with her women's intuition on him, she will snare him and get what she wants, a reasonable good-looking guy with some status and wealth who can be domesticated into a family man. This is the cold, hard reality of the courtship dance. Women want a guy they're emotionally connected to, but in many cases their practical needs win out, and they choose a guy with money over some guy they might be in love with who has no wealth, like your classic artist. In the movies, the girl always chooses love, in essence, the artist over the arrogant millionaire, but in real life, the woman chooses the millionaire more often and is happy with him because, above all else, she loves herself first and wants an easy life rather than a materially poor life with a struggling artist she might think is cute and sensitive. Money talks, everything else walks. Besides, she can always divorce him after she has a kid and live on easy street with the settlement. This is the way modern girls think. It has happened thousands of times before. Most people initially want it all, a good-looking, tender-hearted person with status and money, but realize they won't get it, so they make compromises. It's easy for men to marry lower status women because they don't care about anything but the girl, but high status women have a thing about marrying lower status men, so these women often have a tough go of it because they've limited their pool of potential suitors due to the status kick they're on. Black women are good at this. A black girl goes through college and gets a professional job, and in her mind, she's on some high socioeconomic level, so she refuses to go out with blue-collar or lower-status black men, the net result being that she looks for white guys. This is her way of moving on up, even though it's all bull. When women find a new lover and decide to leave their husbands, it's often not for love. It's for some biological thing pre-wired into them about always seeking out the highest status male to be with. When men have casual sex, it's often for fun, but with women, it's often for other reasons, like they're not happy in their current relationship, to reassure themselves they're beautiful and can seduce men, to beat out the other girls in the silent competition to attract men, and for revenge, such as to get back at a cheating boyfriend or husband by sleeping with his brother or best friend just to spite him. Getting to know someone is fun, passionate and exciting as it should be, but at the same time don't lose your hold on reality. People are tricksters. Many girls are barracudas. They're smart, cunning, and deceptive. A lot of girls are masters at pretending to love guys and getting guys to fall in love with them for less than honorable reasons, not because they love the guy but love his money and status. There was one particular love game show on TV where it was painfully obvious how cunning and charming these girls were. Beware. Is it real love or trickster love? A lot of guys with a lot of money and high status say it's very difficult to find a true lover because all these girls are coming onto them with fake motives. If you're wealthy and are looking for a sincere mate, don't flaunt it. Act average, dress average, drive an average car. If you're high status like a politician or a movie star, go somewhere where people don't know who you are. Of course, you can use your wealth and status to attract girls, but who are you attracting except for flaky, phony gold digger types? They have to like you for you. That's what love is. Everybody fakes it somewhat during the courtship process. It's just human nature to put your best foot forward but try to get a read on the real person, especially with the small stuff of everyday living, since that's what the reality of marriage is, living together day by day. What are his or her daily living habits like? It's easy to be romantic and nice when you see each other for an hour or two every few nights as opposed to living with them. Even though some people believe in virginity until marriage, this is not really wise in the pragmatic sense, because it's like test driving a car. If you don't do it, you're a fool. Think about it. What if you end up marrying a poor lover? Too bad for you. I say talk about these things before you marry and do them. Talk about everything, even love, sex and money, and do some of these things together beforehand, like practice living, practice shopping, sex, etc. This is not casual sex. This is bona fide research to see if you're really compatible living together. Everybody has fantasies of what they expect a relationship to be, but when you actually live together or talk about profound things together, these fantasy expectations are replaced by the cold, hard reality of day-to-day life. So this is a great filtering process before the marriage, because it will help you see through the haze of love to see what marriage is really like day by day, and this will give you an out before you commit. The major issues you should discuss before marriage are as follows. Addictions. Anger/self-control. Career/jobs. Children. Day-to-day love. Emotional maturity. Household chores/maintenance. How to deal with problems. In-laws. Lifestyle habits, personal. Money. Romance after marriage. Sexual relationship. Chapter 3. Put your best foot forward but don't be too fake. A pop culture image is not endearing. The more you present yourself as a person who buys into pop culture entertainment and uses that to fill up your life, the more that real men of substance will be turned off by you. By pop culture entertainment, I mean that you watch a lot of sitcoms and so-called trendy shows on TV, you watch the entertainment tabloid shows, you're up on the latest gossip in the cult of celebrity, you're up on the latest pop stars and music idols on the music competitive reality shows. Along with this, you read frivolous women's magazines and seem to be living in this unreal frivolous world created by the pop culture entertainment industry and cosmetics commercials. Myself personally, I can't stand pop culture clones who don't seem to realize what's really going on in the world. I don't necessarily want a girl who listens to democracynow.org, watches CNN and PBS and is into current events. I want a girl who thinks her own thoughts, creates her own life and does her own thing. I don't like shallow girls without minds of their own who are trying to be trendy based on what they see on stupid TV shows and don't seem to understand how much pain and suffering there is in the real world. They're living in some fantasy land that will burst as they grow up and see what reality is. I like someone with a natural joy for her own life as opposed to some brainwashed girl with a manufactured idea of what's good, cool, and trendy in life. There are a lot of guys out there that think like me. That's why they go to foreign countries looking for a wife. They can't stand these brainwashed, stupid girls polluted by all that pop culture crap out there thinking they're all that, go girl, got it going on, feel like a woman, don't impress me much. Is that brainwash or is it a real attitude a cool woman is supposed to have? Where are the free-spirited, aesthetic primal girls happy living by their own sense of inspiration and creativity, comfortable with who they are without the need to follow trends and be brainwashed by the phony glow of glitter out there? If you're not phony bubbly all the time, which no one is because it's impossible to be on speed motion all the time, don't try to be phony bubbly with me because I'll see right through it. Real people happy with their lives express themselves through what they do. They don't have to come off over the top, acting all loud and in your face about how trendy they are. Guys like me see through the pretense every time. Enlightened people are calmer, more relaxed. They don't have to put on a show about how enthusiastic they are about life. Don't get obsessive or possessive about any guy. It just shows you're weak and don't have an identity of your own. And what about all these people who are into the status game of dividing the world into two groups, those with professional jobs who are considered the superior, elite crowd and the inferior bunch who don't have professional jobs? When I meet someone with a so-called professional job, at the very least I'm thinking clone, somebody who took the safe, routine, dull predictable route of taking some system job without aspiring to be the person they really are, the way they feel it deep down in their souls. I might respect a doctor for all those years of study and commitment, but at the same time I'm thinking how dull, brainwashed and uninspired can you be for choosing to do something like this that sentences you to a boring, hard life where you're not exploring your individuality or trying to live for the aesthetics of the glorious experience life is supposed to be. I remember meeting this girl over 10 years ago who came off like a big-time lawyer working for some prestigious law firm. She flaunted this. It gave her an elitist, superiority complex. As I got to know her bit by bit over the next year or so as a casual friend at the gym, she revealed to me how much she hated her job and how much it was killing her soul inside doing this boring, tedious stuff she couldn't stand. This is why I like naturally creative girls without any formal academic credentials way more than some girl who's a caricature of some professional woman character on TV. Real vs. phony. All of us are human the way we were born. We have an essence which is us as human beings. When we are like this, we are being ourselves as is without pretense. We are being real. The problem starts when the brainwash of the world kicks in. This is a phenomena mostly women have, mostly young women at that. They are trying to act like some over-the-top so-called celebrity they saw on a TV show, in a music video, on a TV commercial, in a frivolous women's magazine, etc. The thing is, when you act like this, when you're putting on an image of glamour, coolness, and trendiness that's not the real you, enlightened people know we are all alike in the privacy of our own thoughts, that if someone is acting all bubbly and cool, they cannot be like that 24 hours a day. There is a real them somewhere inside covered over by all this stuff. If you can get to it, it would be like taking a mask off. You would see the real person away from the pretense, but if you were like me, which I presume all enlightened men are, you would say to yourself that she's a phony or acting phony. I don't need the arrogance, I don't care how pretty she is, leopards rarely change their spots, she will always be this high and mighty prima donna, I don't need it, screw her, I'm not interested. This is the big lie the cosmetics, pop culture, entertainment, fashion, and glamour industries have been selling you, and a lot of girls fall for it. These industries tell you that if you buy their products and act in those glamorous, cool ways they're pushing at you, that you will be desirable, stick out of the crowd, that guys will want you, but they don't tell you that most guys, except for the glittery ones, ain't stupid. They're not playing this game. They are real human beings looking for someone real, not a body filled up with pretense. If a guy in a bar sees a girl like this, he might assume she's one of those fun girls with loose morality commonly portrayed in the media as a cool chick, so he'll try to play her for sex. But guys looking for love and real relationships are generally looking for someone like themselves, somebody unassuming, being themselves, who is real enough to live in the real world without getting psycho-bamboozled by all that pop culture glitter crap out there. Despite having said all this, the truth is that some of these prima donnas won't change their spots until they're at least 45 and have uglified enough through the aging process to realize they don't have the leverage of their looks anymore. They still have some leverage by offering the prospect of a sexual tryst to horny guys, which most men are, but they know that men aren't interested in them for their outer beauty anymore or for their souls, so their only choice is to stay arrogant and alone or get humble and be nicer to people. I've seen women well into their 40s still with that prima donna complex, but it doesn't look good on them because they are aging people and simply don't have the beauty to back up their arrogance, so they look like miserable middle-aged screw ups. As a matter of fact, I saw one on the show The Surreal Life. She was a middle-aged, neurotic bag trying to act snotty, elitist and ladylike. It was obvious the problem was within her, not in the others. She was jealous of the younger girls there and basically self-destruct on the screen by trying to act like some old prima donna who was more refined than anybody there, because all she succeeded in doing was alienating her castmates and making herself look like a fool. Throughout the show, you never saw her break out of her image to see herself as this neurotic, screechy, over-the-top bitch. She was always in character. They call this denial, but I'm sure when the mask came off when she was by herself watching the show, she knew what an arrogant bitch she was. Chapter 4. The Mr. Wrong Guy. Mr. Wrong One. Ignore everything a guy says and watch the way he treats you. That will tell you everything you need to know. He's either good, positive, and kind almost all the time, or he's less than this. Why bother with someone who won't spend a few bucks on you but spends a lot of money on himself? How about a guy who seems angry and lashes out? People don't change. They are what they are. If the guy is less than stellar before the marriage, he'll be the same after. How about a guy who has sex with you then walks out, leaving you there, unfulfilled? Why would anyone stay with a guy like that? Some guys who have a hard time committing to monogamy, exclusive dating, or proposing marriage. They might be good guys who need a push, might be guys who will never marry anyone, or guys who don't love you but are hanging around until their real soulmate comes around. Your solution is to tell the guy, are we moving on the path towards marriage or not? Tell him you have a biological clock and you have to know from him one way or another so you can get on with starting a family. Ask him what his life plans are. Some guys are inherently commitment phobic or more into freedom without hassles, but not many. Most guys and girls really do want to get married. Most relationships are in limbo because the two people don't really love each other, but they've reached some level of comfort which they think is better than being single. If you two either fight a lot or just don't act loving towards each other much, get a clue. Get out. If a guy or a girl are generally unenlightened and irresponsible in keeping a job, taking care of their own life, etc., they can't love you because they got their own personal life, identity problems to deal with. This is a lot more common than anyone ever admits to. Below is a list of possible problems or red flags when dating someone. A guy or girl is a slacker in their own life. He or she doesn't do nice things for you out of blue. He or she will not change some negative behavior for you, like put smelly socks in the basement or quit smoking, which are both disgusting, and any normal person will not impose them on anyone else. There are lots of gays around trying to fit into a heterosexual relationship. Your lover could be gay. Some people are neurotic, perfectionist, or anal retentive, as Freud called it. If you're with someone who needs everything in the house to be clean and in its proper place all the time, that's a sign of a control freak. Their need for control is higher than their ability to be loving. If he or she spends a lot of money and time on self-grooming, it's a bad sign because they're not warm-hearted, kind people who realize all that stuff is pretense. Either your inner beauty shows on the outside or it doesn't, and all the makeup and high fashions in the world cannot give you true inner beauty. If you don't know this and spend all your time culturing your outer look, I don't want to have anything to do with you. If you're with someone who's married but keeps telling you they'll get a divorce to marry you, be careful. They could be stringing you along and never intend to leave their spouse to marry you. In a relationship, you're either looking for marriage in the long run or not. If you ask a guy about the marriage question and he says something like "I'm not ready for a serious relationship yet," what he's saying is "I'm not ready for a serious relationship with you, but I will be when I meet the true bombshell I deserve." Mr. Wrong 2. If a guy really loves you, he'll want to openly declare his love to you. If your sex life sucks now, meaning if your lover is a poor, self-centered, insensitive lover, it means that he or she just cares about themselves, not in satisfying you as a good lover and loving person would do. If you can't sit down and have a meaningful conversation about life, love, sex, or just have a pleasant conversation about anything that's not forced, why bother? If you can't communicate heart to heart, you will have nothing but two strangers in the same house, alone together. Sometimes you encounter a good person but they're not capable of a loving relationship right now because they feel a more intense need to prove themselves in their career or in something else, like the guy I know who wanted to be a professional soccer player, so he gave up everything to pursue this dream. If the guy is a workaholic now, chances are he won't change. Somebody who loves you will spend money on you. If a guy is cheap with you, there's something missing. If the guy or gal has a roving eye, flirts all the time and makes comments to you about how great that opposite sex person looks or that you should be more like someone he or she thinks is the bomb, don't expect them to be faithful and expect them to dump you when you age and lose some of your looks. Some people are natural flirts. It's not harmless. I knew a girl who felt the need to aggressively flirt with lots of guys, not because she had any real attraction to them but because she had to feed her ego all the time by going out flirting in order to get compliments and attention back from men. She was really insecure. She always needed that reassurance. Just like that flirty girl a few minutes ago, some guys are like this. They want to sweep a girl off her feet, then when they've done it, they've satisfied their ego. They can dump her and start on the next conquest. If your lover cheats, why would you stay? Yet many do after they find out. If your lover is really into porn and or sex toys, that's where they are sexually. They could love you but they need sex more than you can give it. If they keep it to themselves then it's not a big deal, but the problem is that porn often leads to escorts, casual sex dating websites, etc. On top of that, porn could get expensive and desensitize men on how to treat women properly, not as sex objects. It's your fault if allow guys in that you know are bad news up front. Listen to your intuition. If you get into a relationship and your new beau is constantly talking about his or her ex-spouse or lover or comparing you to this person, they're still stuck on that person, not in love with you. If you see a picture of this person and you look like them, it could be that they're looking for someone like this ex-lover, not you for you. Great shows of romance not backed up by real actions are the signs of a charmer, con man, self-centered narcissist and psychopath. If your lover disappears regularly for a week or more at a time without contacting you, that's a dead giveaway that he or she will be hard to commit to a relationship. He could be juggling several girlfriends. There are activist types out there more interested in saving the world than falling in love. Some people get into relationships but then their real problem shines through: depression and self-contempt. Many of these people are alcoholics and drug addicts. They want love but at the same time, push it away because they don't feel worthy of it. Some people are eternal dreamers, always trying to make the big score to be a star and or get rich. Some people are lifelong rebels. As soon as talk of marriage enters into it, they feel they are being brainwashed and put on a leash. Mr. Wrong 3. All of us judge each other. We especially judge our romantic interests. Very often, it's trivial things that turn you on or off to another in a serious way. To me, reading a person is pretty straightforward. Most of us are an open book. Some basic things don't lie. For instance, I generally don't care what you say, your body is your biography. Your body and face either register joy and someone who gives a damn enough about their lives to take care of themselves, or it registers dullness and neutrality, or even worse, somebody who looks worn out and defeated by life and their body bears the scars of a life of self-abuse, junk food, booze, etc. A straight-up person is like a dog. They're open, they show what they feel, they have nothing to hide. If somebody seems guarded, that's a big red flag. They should be open and transparent. The better looking a guy or girl are, generally the more arrogant they are and think they can control people and do what they want. Some good looking people have good hearts, but many don't. People who are clean and wear nice, neutral clothes respect themselves but have nothing to prove through their clothes, so they are not wearing the latest fashions, nor are they scuzzy like all these people I see around who dress in such a way that they look punky or lower class. This is not conducive to attracting people. If you're a guy, never wear a baseball hat except at a baseball game. It's tacky. Don't wear earrings either. It reveals your true character, a brainwashed part of the herd not strong enough to present himself to the world as is. Posture or the way people carry themselves speak volumes. Anybody can orchestrate a good posture by standing straight and tall, but this can look arrogant. Good posture is someone who stands straight but they're relaxed about it. They don't look like they're trying to hold back a poop. Pet owners are generally loving people, especially if they don't care about the breed of their dog or cat and love it as the mongrel it is. The way people drive tells who they are. Insecure people always have to be with friends out in public. Secure people can stand on their own and do things on their own. A person of destiny has an inner standard they live by. They are always doing something inspired and positive, not just looking for the next diversion or thrill. It's all in the face. You can see whether a face is soft, bland, or mean and miserable. This section is basically a look at things that your date might do that would turn you off to them almost instantaneously. If your new beau exhibits any of these qualities, watch out. Disrespecting you in any way is the biggest red flag. Liars are low. People who break promises or date/appointments are out. Negative people in general aren't worth it. Insensitivity to what you're feeling is a sign of Mr. Wrong. Irresponsibility and excuses for his sloth and failures. Selfish, stingy, mean. Socially inappropriate behavior. Rude, embarrassing, tries to embarrass people with inappropriate questions. Laziness. Tries to change you. Bouts of anger followed by apologies. Bouts of deep introversion. Wants to be alone. Bouts of sadness or depression for no apparent reason. Can you trust him totally without question? Wants to borrow money. Has no money or job. No intention of working. No ambition. Expects you or someone else like parents to support him. Stays out all night. Uses drugs or booze all the time. Musician or artist without money. Messed up from childhood, i.e. abuse, neglect, religious extremist family, too much achievement pressure, etc. Talks about his ex a lot. Doesn't introduce you to his parents, friends, etc. Doesn't seem to show interest in you emotionally. Acts vague and non-committal. Uses you for sex then shuts off. Acts moody. Mr. Wrong 4. Some more Mr. Wrong traits are as follows. Always angry, grumpy. Tries to manipulate or control you. Doesn't talk about a future together. Says he isn't interested in a serious relationship. Talks about his problems but doesn't care about yours. Split up with someone else recently. Very stubborn. Not interested in you. Bad track record in love. Stingy with money. Doesn't care about meeting your parents. Plays you for a sucker. Crybaby, winner. Acts like he loves everybody, which is impossible and insincere. The phony bleeding heart liberal type. The one-dimensional guy hooked on making money. The workaholic married to his work. Your friends warn you about him. Talks academically as a shield. Overcharmer. Just seems to want sex. Reminisces too much about the good old days. Just separated from wife. In therapy. UFO abductee. Star Trekkie. Listens to too much talk radio. Sides with either Democratic or Republican Party, both are the same. Believes in psychics. Can't take a compliment. Barely knows you but wants a baby. Thinks you're too independent. Too normal, no sense of adventure. Leads you on. Always brings you presents. Wears polyester. Colors his hair. Commitment phobic. No direction in life. Male chauvinist. Pathological liar. Constant critic. Mental problems. Homosexual tendencies but still trying to make it with you. Eating problems. Overweight. Smoker. Slob. Cheater. TV sports addict. Someone bitter at the world. Sexually dysfunctional. Control freak. Wimp. Victim. Addicted to pornography. Impotent. Premature ejaculation. No apparent interest in sex. Wants you to act out rape fantasies. Mama's boy. Slick, suave, charming guys who will seduce you and move on to the next conquest. Lazy, no focus. Wants woman to mother him. On the rebound, haven't healed yet. Couch potato. Rigid, unwilling to compromise. Violent. Extreme fence-sitter unwilling to commit. Inconsiderate. Know-it-all. Smelly. Bloodhound, too eager for relationship. User. Superficial, afraid to talk deep. Ego, thinks he's a star. Casual, too cool as though everything's done for image. Date with roving eye looking at other prospects. Ex-con without a job. While all dolled up like a China doll, your date starts to talk about her relationship with God. Someone specifically refers to themselves as an extrovert. Someone who tries to secretly uses mouth freshener all through the date. Talks about diets. Anyone who smokes cigarillos. Women who clutch onto you too close during the first date. Anyone too perky. People who talk about astrology, use too much cool slang and mention X-rated movies on a first date. Men with too much cologne on, too close attention to grooming like the GQ look. Men who curl/color their hair or wear eyeliner. You're in the bathroom and your date continues the conversation by hollering through the door. You go out with a man who knows all about wine when we know it's all just fermented grape juice. Name dropper. Go to McDonald's and date orders special hamburger, hold the mayo, medium rare. You go out with guy and his beard acts like a magnet for food particles. You go out and she orders salad because she's on a diet, then picks at your food. Your date sends something back at the restaurant. If she's that picky, imagine what she'd be like with you. You meet someone but don't feel right about taking her out for pizza because you think she's too high maintenance. Smoker. Women who put makeup on in front of you in public. Someone who collects anything as hobby, too trivial and materialistic. Guy with full-length mirror at home. A woman or guy with shelf full of romance novels. You will never live up to her. Teasers. Man at end of the first date who says, "So gimme a call sometimes, babe." Dirty car that looks lived in. Clean freak. Go to ice cream shop and order vanilla/chocolate, too plain. Someone who automatically always puts seat belt on even for 2-block ride. Someone who talks about old flames. Someone with pager or cell phone on date. Someone with mirrors on ceiling. Someone with a shelf full of self-help books, no mind of her own. Beware of someone with wall-to-wall books. Too lost in their own world or trying to act intellectually superior. Wears trendy clothes despite being too fat for them. Drives a cool sports car but doesn't fit the image. Drives a cool sports car but is virtually broke with the high payments. Man with car, either sports, antique or a wrecker that he works on incessantly. Someone who washes car religiously every week. Anyone with red sports car, too phony. Anyone who watches soap operas. Any man who wears baseball hat inside a building. Has paraphernalia about anything from showbiz, fantasy world. Really into pop culture. Personalized license plates. Too much jewelry on a man or woman, vanity. Photos of themselves hanging up in their homes. Nosering. Phony intellectual, the type with glasses and beard who act like they know it all. Someone who will sleep with you on first date. No standards. Someone who comes right out and asks what you do and how much money you make. Someone who will cancel a date with you to watch a TV show. Corny idealist sayings on the wall. Several stuffed animals at home, a little too trivial and maybe weak for having inanimate things for companions. Any man who wears speedos or bikinis. STD medication in the cabinet. Chapter 5. A Dating Problem Guide. Decent but awkward nerdy guy or gal. If someone is decent but awkward, have a second date where they might relax more. Give them a chance to relax. If they still can't be themselves, cut your losses. Risky dating people and situations. There are so many. How cynical do you want to get? I'd start with someone trying to use me for something like money, a driver, an errand runner, etc. Messed up people want you to take care of them like boys who want a mother. Don't date a married guy. You might break up a family or you might get shut out. Dr. Laura S. broke up a family yet she preached family values for many years on the radio. If you're young, don't date someone under the age of statutory rape even if it seems cool. If you're 18 and she's 15, check on the statutory rape laws where you live. As far as age differences go, you always hear about famous artists or rich guys with much younger women. I believe it has to do with the fact that the older guy has money. Why would a young woman want to be with an old guy, except for money or if she has a father complex? The fact of living many years gives older people so much more experience than young, naive people. Don't marry a woman in her 30s desperate for babies because it's not love. The fact that somebody has been divorced several times probably means something. Don't date someone who is not like you, who does not have common interests or a common upbringing. Many cultures and religions kick people out if they marry someone outside the religion. There are the Jews, the Muslims, the Catholics, etc. Different skin color and different ethnicities don't mean that much, at least in the West, where we're all brought up the same. Nobody is really an exotic person. When you go on vacation, the people in a faraway place seem exotic but they're just working people in a different area. Smart people shouldn't marry stupid people unless they want to control them. I mean smart as in intelligence, not as in college degrees, which are merely evidence of brainwashing. You could date someone out of your socio-economic status but get a prenup if you're rich. If you're gay, don't date straights on the down low. Don't date long distance because it will fade, contrary to the lie that absence makes the heart grow stronger. Be careful dating at work so as not to jeopardize your job. Date people with kids only if you like kids. Don't date the ex-partners of friends and family until at least a year after a breakup. When you shouldn't date. Don't date if you're a scumbag in real life. Should messed up people date? I think most people are messed up. I define messed up as not knowing your true nature, therefore not living by it, which is most people who are brainwashed by their culture and wage slaves, working to pay bills, so almost everyone is messed up. Finding someone to love can help a dysfunctional person straighten up to be a decent citizen. When you've just broken up and date, they call it rebound dating. It's not a good idea because you're looking for a quick fix to replace the lost love. You shouldn't date when you have just had major stress like the loss of a close person or pet. You're unemployed. You have no money. You don't know what to do with your life. Hooked on something, be it drugs or video games. If you like porn and masturbation more than relationship. If you don't want to compromise for anyone, too independent. If you don't really want to date but you feel society says you have to be married. You feel you're too fat or ugly, do something about it, lose weight, gain muscle, get healthy. You're self-conscious about something, like you feel you're not good enough in some way. Some people feel bad because they don't have a college degree. They don't realize all college degrees in the social sciences are total garbage. Life in mainstream society is a big fraud, but most people don't know this. They watch the celebrity stuff on TV and think this is what cool people do, when the truth is that everybody is a loner. You either find happiness within yourself alone or you're a lost soul. Some people are not suitable to date or couple. You don't feel sexy like you can be a good lover. Deal breakers, people to run away from. In the Bible, 1 Corinthians 6:18 says, flee from sexual immorality. If you're on a date and you see bad behavior that crosses the moral line of wholesome goodness, don't waste your time. Leave as quickly as possible. There is honor in stating straight up that this date isn't going anywhere, let's just cut it off now. Run away from these types of people. Winners and complainers about trivial things and everything. Comparers who are jealous of others. Pouters, always whiny, never happy. Angry people who holler and think that the world will listen to their temper tantrums. I've been watching MTV's The Real World. People swear a lot on that. It shows a lack of control. People who try to manipulate you or make you feel guilty. Someone totally passive. People need some semblance of an individual identity and backbone. Don't date a loser looking to muckle onto you. Don't date a critic because they will criticize you. A person who talks about sex on a date in a casual way. It shows sleaziness. A secretive person who doesn't want to talk much about regular things or open up. They could be hiding the fact that they're married, a criminal mind, anger, etc. Straight vanity, egotism, blatant narcissism, arrogance. If people say ridiculous falsehoods about themselves and seem insensitive to others, they're bona fide psychopaths, which is a lot more common than the psychobablists say. The psychobablists say about 5% of us are psychopaths. I believe virtually all of us have psychopathic traits. After all, we're evil according to the Bible, which I believe. Takers who never give, they always want something for nothing, even if it's just your time to listen to them. Pettiness, triviality, tit for tat. A guy not willing to pick up the entire bill on a date. Somebody who keeps bringing up something stupid you did. People who are nitpicking nags who make a big deal out of small stuff, like if you're at a restaurant and your date complains, it's not worth it. It's just food. Control freak wants to know where you are, wants to always feel above you, better than you, wants you to be the submissive doormat pleaser. There are people around who try these tactics on people until they find someone who is gullible enough to fall for it. The person who has a job, hobby, addiction, or passion that is more important to him or her than you. This could be the workaholic, the alcoholic, or the artist more interested in their own thing rather than a meaningful relationship. Beware of bohemian creative types who see the world as their oyster and have no sense of monogamous commitment. They'll woo you and sleep with you but will never commit to you. People who are obsessed with frivolous things for entertainment, like a guy playing games, watching TV, always on social media, always on your cell phone, always going to bingo, etc. Somebody who comes late for a date, is cheap, lies, breaks promises, etc. then always has a lying excuse. People who are friends with scuzzball, negative people, like a guy hanging around with his buddies always getting high, or the girl with her jealous friends and mother who are always manipulating her to suit their ends. The best relationships come from people similar to each other. Opposites don't attract. If you're dating someone who is not like you, chances are it will not last. Some people like to argue because it gives them an emotional connection, but people in love shouldn't need to argue because everything is minor next to love. If you want marriage, children, and a home life and the person you're dating says they don't want kids but wants to live a fun, free life, don't waste time on that person. People who blame anybody or anything for their sadness. Dating problem websites. dating-service.com/advice/dating-a-divorced-man. datingtips.com. coachadvice.blogspot.com/2007/12/dating-problems.html. forums.plentyoffish.com. girlsaskguys.com. goconversation.com/embarrassing-questions-to-ask-a-guy-dating-wise. hard2coast.com/2009/05/5-types-of-women-you-should-never-ever-date. Jezebel.com. ladies-of-the-heart.com. niceguys.org/the-program/yourproblem.html. relationshiptalk.net. tumblrworks.net/dating/approach-a-girl.html. womendatingmanual.com. ylcf.org/new-attitude/1-2/dating-problems-courtship-solutions.htm.